standing by right now, Troy Renck of the Denver Post, who is their NFL writer and their main Broncos beat writer at Dove Valley. Troy, welcome back to the show as always. We love having you on. You did a mock draft for the newspaper and the newspaper website today, and if you don't mind, run us through your mock draft. I'm anxious to see who you have going at the top of the draft and where they're going.
It's highlights. I don't want to
highlights of the draft. Yeah,
you didn't do 7 rounds, do you? I don't want to hear your 7 rounds.
I don't think we'll go through all 32, but I have Winston, like everyone else, going 1. I do believe Mariota's the second player picked. I don't know that he's going to stay in Tennessee. Cleveland is trying to move up desperately. Philadelphia is trying to move up desperately to that pick. And at that point, then it could change everything. If he moves up, it's going to throw the draft into a bit of a loop. But the next player is available. Dante Fowler, the pass rusher. Amari Cooper, I see going to the Raiders. I mean, those are the main guys. But there's a couple of guys that are going to fall, and Shane Ray and Randy Gregory, that are really going to make this draft interesting.
How about La'el Collins? Troy, is he going to fall?
La'el Collins, I don't think gets drafted. He won't be. I don't see him going in the first round now. He's not a suspect, but the police want to question him involving his relationship with a woman who was murdered in Louisiana, and the possibility that she may have been carrying his child. Given the NFL's complete desire to eliminate distractions and the climate currently with guys who are getting in trouble, I can't imagine anyone's willing to take that risk on Collins. And he's a top 15 talent. Shane Ray, Randy Gregory will both fall in this draft. Shane Ray, I see him as much more of somebody will gamble on Ray. Randy Gregory is falling quickly. He might end up out of the first round given the stuff that's come out the last couple of days on him.
I have a suspicion, and I said to Les, and I bring it up to you. I think there are 38 to 41 first-round draft picks, and that the Broncos could actually trade down and still get one of the 3 or 4 players that would be first-round draft picks. Tell me I'm stupid.
Well, I've told them not to do that because it would be past my deadline, so that I'm rooting against that. But they would. Once you get past the first 10, 15 guys, you're right, Woody. A lot of these players then they have similar grades. You know, if you're going to trade up to get Andres Pete, the tackle from Stanford, that's different. You know, if you feel like you have to have that tackle. But this is a deep tackle draft. So can you get a DJ Humphries if you stay at 28? Can you trade down and get Cedric Obui, the kid from Texas A&M? I hope I pronounced that right. He might be available in the second round. Or if you trade into somebody's second-round pick, a high second-round pick, then you still get the right tackle you want. Again, the Broncos, it's interesting. I do believe they'll try to trade up. 20 would be a great spot because that would get them in front of teams that want tackles. But if they end up at 28, Cameron Ervin should be there, the center. That might be the safest pick in the draft, a kid who played tackle and could play center. But to your point, Woody, if you're not in that top 10, you can make an argument that trading back and having multiple second-rounders is just as valuable.
Who is your 28th? Tell everybody.
Well, right now, if it stays, again, and these mock drafts, I went through and did research on this the last few days.
Yeah, give us some of the highlights, Troy, of your mock. And take us to the Broncos pick.
Of 115 mock drafts, there were you're talking about 5% get 8 of the 32 picks right. And rarely do we get the first 5 picks in order right because there's usually a trade. But in my mock, if it stays the same and the Broncos stay at 28, they would get Cameron Ervin, the center guard from Florida State. If they trade up, I do believe they'll get a tackle. That could be Jake Fisher from Oregon. That could be DJ Humphries. That could be Andres Pete. They do like defensive tackles. Malcolm Brown and Jordan Phillips will be available. But if the right tackles are there they like, I can't see them taking a defensive tackle over a right tackle as we sit here right now. But in the mock draft, Les, you know, the highlights are everyone wants to know who's going, those quarterbacks, and where is Marcus Mariota going to end up. If he ends up a Philadelphia Eagle, the ratings for this draft might break every record that Johnny Manziel broke last year.
Well, Twitter would break, that's for sure.
I'm going to keep telling you guys till it happens it's Jordan Phillips. But we assume they're going to draft a quarterback somewhere. What do you hear or what do you think, either one of those, in regard to who they would get later in the draft that they would be willing to pick?
Well, there's been some buzz, you know, do they like Bryce Petty? But there's talk now that New Orleans Saints are going to move up or take Bryce Petty at the end of the round, because one of the things, if you take a guy in the first round, you get that fifth-year option. So if you take Bryce Petty and you see him as the quarterback of the future for the New Orleans Saints, that extra fifth year could be a huge year, as we're seeing with Osweiler. If Osweiler had an extra year, it'd be like clear that he's succeeding Manning probably. So Garrett Grayson will be available. Brett Hundley will be available. Sean Mannion. I like the kid from Oregon State a lot. He's tall. He played in a pro-style offense. Garrett Grayson, I see more as a third rounder than a second, but I don't think they'll take a quarterback before the fourth round. There's just really no need to go that high on a quarterback. My vibe, Woody, and being out here is that they really believe Brock Osweiler is a fit. So will they bring in a quarterback? Yes. Will they go high with the quarterback in the second round, third round? I don't see that right now. They have other needs to address at linebacker, D tackle, O-line. Taking a quarterback that high would be counterproductive.
That's why I think they'll pick Chris Bonner out of CSU Pueblo. He's got the strongest arm, I think, in the draft.
And I think they'll take Mannion. Troy, if you had to bet right now, the Broncos, you have three choices here. The Broncos will move up in the draft, the Broncos will stay at number 28, or the Broncos will do what John's done a lot in his first four drafts, move back in the draft. What do you think it'll be?
I think this is the year they move up. They try to get to around 20, between 18 and 22. It maybe cost them one pick to move up, 7 picks, but I do believe they're going to try to move up less, but I don't believe that with certainty. There's no obvious guy where they're targeting. So much of when you're at 28 depends on what happens in front of you, Les. But if the tackles start going off the board, let's say Andres Pete goes to the Rams at 10, and then all of a sudden you've got Cleveland sitting there needing a tackle, you've got the Chargers needing a tackle, Carolina needs a tackle. That's when I could see the Broncos getting aggressive and saying, hey, we got to get up here to one of these picks, so one of the tackles we want is still there. But I don't say it with certainty, but if I had to bet right now, I'd say there's a little more chance they move up than move back.
Do you have a guy somewhere out there in the draft that you would like to see the Broncos pick that would be a great value pick with one of those 18 or 20 or 18 or 38 draft picks they have? While you're thinking about that, Cobb, I like the Minnesota running back, and I think that Nick O'Leary, tight end from Florida State, fits what they do. You have somebody you like?
Well, Ty Montgomery, the kid from Stanford, he did not have a great year last year. I think he's underrated. He's a guy that could help, and he would be available second and third round. There's linebackers that Bernardrick McKinney, if you could somehow get to him in the second round, a big guy, big body on the inside, that would be a fantastic pick for them. But the guy that I think you look for, Woody, late, is somebody that's a slot receiver who could also return kicks and punts. There's a number of guys like that. Philip Dorsett would be the best, but he's not going to be available, the kid from Miami. But looking for guys like that, they tried to cover it last year with Isaiah Burse, a street free agent. I would look for them. The Langford kid from Michigan State, a running back, he could be available. That's another guy to keep an eye on. But also look for a slot receiver that they could take late that could also return punts and or kicks.
Yeah, they played Division II in Nebraska, or it's one of those guys that the Patriots have discovered, or a Brandon Stokely type.
Well, Julian Edelman, Woody, was a quarterback in college. That's why the draft, it's fascinating. It's wonderful speculation. But you look at the Super Bowl, where I was covering the Super Bowl. Malcolm Smith made the biggest play. He was undrafted. Julian Edelman was their best offensive player, not named Tom Brady. He was a college quarterback. And Russell Wilson wins MVP if he doesn't throw the interception. And he was a third rounder and thought he was going to play baseball for the rest of his life. So the draft is fascinating, but it has to be kept in perspective.
Troy, we really appreciate your time. We will see you out there. You're going to be blogging all day today, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So
what about tweeting? You'll be tweeting. Tell people what your handle is.
At Troy Renck, TroyRenck. Yeah, I'll be out here tweeting, and it's going to be fun. It'll be like covering a baseball game. Woody, I'll be tweeting for 3 hours before I have to write. That's when the Broncos will pick, right around 9:15 on deadline.
We'll come out there. Les and I'll come out here.
Yeah, don't eat all the chocolate chip cookies.
We'll supply you with some tweet material. So.
All right. Troy, thanks, man. We'll see you in a few hours, all right?
See you guys.
All right, that's Troy Renck coming to us from Dove Valley. So go to denverpost.com and look up Troy. He'll be writing all day long. All right, that segment brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.